So this has taught me a few things that I did not know. One, when I drink peppermint tea, I turn on red. Who would have thought? I also, in reviewing these, I swallow very loudly sometimes, and my mic is right here. I'll probably switch to a dynamic mic at some point because I have crazy loud neighbors that are constantly, I don't know, pushing around couches, flipping tables. I don't know what they do, but it's irritating. So one of the reasons why I wanted to start doing this is because I wanted to talk about issues that I see constantly. Like I've been working at the same place for 20 years, and even before then I worked with relatively young people when I first started. There's a distinct difference between when I was young and the kids that I see that are the age that I was at the time. Especially having worked in the same place 20 years, I can see the difference coming in. And obviously I'm different too, so there's probably perspective issues. But one of the things I noticed is how incredibly anxious people are now, especially younger people. Depression was not unheard of when I was young. Like, I have obviously bathed in that pond pretty thoroughly, but there was a lot more of that. If people were having any sort of mental health problems that weren't like, I don't know, that weren't endemic already, it was usually a bout of depression. Whereas now it's not just depression, it's more of a anxiety and malaise, or there's some sort of apathy that has moved along. And I've thought a lot about it, how that not just happened, but like maybe what to do about it sometimes, because there's a lot of these people that I talk to, you know, when somebody new comes into work and I'm trying to help them. It's frustrating when you can see how unhappy somebody is and there's nothing you can do about it. I think a lot of it comes from when I was a kid, there was an internet. I'm not that old. Well, I mean, it depends how old you're talking. When I was in high school, the internet was kind of coming about. Wasn't really, it was in the old days of waiting for pictures to load, and God forbid you want to play a video. But there wasn't this easy access to just everything. And so there was no opportunity to intentionally or unintentionally get pulled into like this deep, dark labyrinth of crazy information. You might be interested in some random topic and an algorithm may say, hey, come here. I want to show you like an execution that you didn't want to see. I want to show you something random that is just horrific, and it can pull you into places more subtly too. Like, I've seen so many videos. I like astronomy, and I know a lot about those subjects. And so when I watch stuff, I'll occasionally get these videos of AI images, AI voice. And at first, a lot of times you're not paying attention, you can't tell, but then you start looking and you start listening and you're like, oh, none of this is real. And then you start listening and critically, and it is just nonsense. It is the kind of stuff that if you didn't know better, like this 3I Atlas comet that just came by, how many times have you heard of some story, if you're any sort of interest in astronomy or space at all, there's all these people that are like, oh my God, it's an alien ship. It's an alien ship. It's slowing down. It's decelerating. It has thrusters. Like, they pick little pieces that are true and they turn them into nonsense. And sometimes they're really good at it and very subtle, and sometimes they're really bad at it and it's obvious, but it's hard to trust anything now. You have to find people that you trust and get information from them. And even then, it's difficult. So I assume that having this kind of access to information is part of it. And then you can be easily drawn into anti-science stuff. God, I've even had 2 people try to tell me the earth is flat in my job. I'm not the one to have that conversation with. Like, I literally refuted every single thing that they said. And it was just a game of make a stupid statement. This is why you're wrong. Hey, but what about this too? Very frustrating. And this is part of like the society we live in now. Like, people are bathed in information handed to them by algorithms. And then you have the pandemic come along. Holy cow, did that mess a lot of people up. Socially, isolation. And there's so many people that I know that they seem very interesting and they just keep to themselves. They're obviously well read. You'll talk to them when you can pry out information. They're often some of the most interesting people you have to talk to, but they are deeply just, they want to keep to themselves. And I don't know if it's out of being an introvert or maybe just the pandemic screwed some of these people up permanently. I don't know. But the problem is now you have all these people taking advantage of that. Everybody is unhappy. Nobody's doing particularly well. But then you have all these goobers that come around, like the Manosphere podcast people. They know that everybody's unhappy, but that doesn't make you money. But if you find a group, a tiny group, and you say, you're unhappy, here's how you make money. Here's how you get women. Here's how you attain power and influence and become something else. And I think those are, there are people that have universities for straight up nonsense. And it's easy to do because if you can skewer off a small group of people, you can convince them that they're unhappy because they're in this small group and it's because of other people. But the truth is everybody's unhappy, or at least not as happy as they used to be. I mean, I'm sure plenty of people are out there that are fine, but for the majority of people I run into, there's a lot of people that are struggling either financially or in any number of ways. And it is kind of a whole society that is that way now. And once you start blaming other people, that becomes a self-feeding cycle of you drive yourself deeper into that group. And then you start to not be able to relate to other people, and you don't want to relate to other people. And then you make yourself even more miserable. And I don't know how you get somebody out of that, but this society thing as a whole, it's scary to me because a lot of people feel without purpose. Like when your only purpose is to just buy stuff and consume, then it doesn't leave you with any sort of satisfaction in life. Like if you can't take pride in your job, if you don't have necessarily a family to go home to, it's hard to motivate a society to continue to just keep buying garbage to bring home that you don't need. But by God, they're going to keep doing it. I have had a lot of conversations with people and ask them, I will ask them, like, do you have a group of friends? And most of them, a lot of younger people don't. And that was one of the best things I remember from my 20s for sure, 30s even, having a friend group that it wasn't a matter of, are you going to hang out this weekend or are we going to do something this week? It was, what are we going to do? We're going to all be around doing something on Saturday. What's it going to be? Probably get food with people a couple times a week, that kind of stuff. It was just way more common. And now I find even people my own age, like I don't have a friend group anymore and not particularly close to people here. And I don't know how it happened. I don't know if it's everybody or if it's just me or we've just changed as a society maybe. But people seem to be resistant in a way that they didn't used to be. People talk about the Seattle freeze and how it's hard to move here and make friends. It wasn't the first time, but by God, it is now, or seems to be. That's just something I've noticed, the tendency towards anxiety. I don't know what the solution is. I try to be available to people, like when I find people like that, any opportunity that they open up at all, I like to prod them for, like, tell me more about yourself kind of stuff. And I always feel like I'm trying to, I don't know, undo so much social anxiety that has been knotted up for so long. But the thing is that a lot of people need to realize is it's a lot of people right now. And there's a lot of people struggling. It is not your particular group of people. It's not young men. It's not young women. It's not, well, I mean, it's not rich people. But it is kind of everybody, and we're all struggling together. And at some point, you would hope we're going to have a conversation about, do we want a country that is just simply about buying things and making rich people richer and creating an environment for corporations to continue conglomerating until we're living in Demolition Man and everything's Taco Bell, or every restaurant's Taco Bell? Or do we want to create a society that creates value for people individually, and there's opportunity to have a job that is fulfilling and actually benefits people? And it sounds so stupid to say in this country in particular, but like, it doesn't make sense the other way around. If we keep on into the direction that we're going, at what point do you just start to break down as a society? And I would argue kind of already doing it. So I would, at the very least, recommend doing what I'm doing, which is I am trying to find people to see regularly. I've been looking for groups to join, and it's never quite the same. Like, everything I've done as a group, whether it's a sport or any other group I've been involved with, a lot of times, yeah, it does feel good when you're doing it, and then as soon as you're not, those people all disappear. So, but it's better than nothing. But I guess just keep in mind, it's not just you. And especially if you feel like that, I feel like that. So for sure, you're not alone in that. And if there's a couple people, then it's probably most people, honestly. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Try to look at that. Look at how much time you spend with other people. And is there a way to look to spending more time with not just other people, but groups of people, and trying to make that a regular thing. This year is going to be rough, as I say frequently, and you're probably going to need people to be a distraction, if nothing else. That's where I'm going to leave this one. Hope I see you in the next one, and hopefully you can find somebody to hang out with. And if you're a kid that has anxiety, man, it's rough out there right now. I hope you can at least get past that enough to spend time with friends or family. And I hope at some point the pandemic and all its effects can at least get far enough in the past that we can move past this weird social anxiety. See you tomorrow.